Okay, this is what you're going to see so far. 2 switches, I've got to the top. Now I'm ready for my fan. So just going to situate that and get ready. Okay, we've got these wires down here. What we're going to do is we're going to work with the ground wire first. Don't worry about the blacks. I'm just going to worry about this. Usually it comes, it's pre-stripped a little bit and you can pull that off. I like to make this just a little bit longer, so now I can strip this off, and what I'm going to do is wrap it onto there. So first I'm going to strip this. Okay, this wire here is stranded. See all those little wires? This is aluminum stranded wire. It's smaller too. And when I go to strip it, what I usually like to do is I don't like to cut it and just drag it off and rip it off. I like to kind of score it all the way around and then put it in a bigger hole and gently pull it off. The last thing I want to do is strip the wire and pull it off really hard. If I use the wrong stripper hole too tight, I could pull off some of these strands and then only have half the strands left. I want to try to keep all the strands together. Okay, so now these strands, I'm just going to take them with my fingers and I'm going to gently wrap them together. That will hold those together so it looks like one. Like that. I'm going to take the ground wire and then I'm just going to wrap these together. Well, just kind of overlap the stranded wire on there like that, and I'm going to put a wire nut on there. Okay, as I showed you before, I got yellow wire nuts. Well, they do have a smaller one than that. They have orange. I'm going to use an orange one because I only have a small stranded wire and the copper ground wire. If I use the yellow, sometimes it has a tendency the hole to be too big and this may be just a bit loose. So I don't want to do that. I'm going to use the orange wire nut. It's a little bit smaller than the yellows. Yeah, I could push this into the box like that, but because it's me, I'm going to put electrical tape on it. So you don't have to do that. I do that just as a precaution. So you're going to wrap electrical tape around here just like we did the others. Get me electrical tape. You can cut this off with dikes if you want. You can cut off with a sheetrock knife. You could also just pull it apart. And it stretches and pulls off. So you got different ways to cut this stuff. Okay, we got so far. Okay, now, before you forget, you got to look on the back side of here. Don't just start hooking up black to black. You got to remember. You look on the back. One says to hot, and one says to fan. So we've already. You remember before we put a little curly Q in here. We know that's going up to the fan, and we know this is the power. And power you call hot. Okay, so I'm going to look at to fan. So I'm going to take this to fan, I'm going to hook it up to there. Same thing, this is little stranded wire. So we're going to strip this back just a little bit, twist this together, and because these are small wires, we're going to use orange wire nuts again for that. Okay, one little small tip for you beginners out there. This is stranded wire, and I strip these back a little bit. Well, if you strip off too much of this at a time, you have a tendency to want to pull that much more. There's a lot of pressure on there, so sometimes that wants to have a tendency to pull off a couple of these. So when I stripped this, I did it in small little increments, just 2 little increments. Then I didn't have to pull off as much of that, and it came off nice and easy. Okay, I'm jumping around just a little bit, but this one is for a fan, and so I'm going to just cut the end of it off. I'm going to do the same thing for here. I'm just going to get it ready. Do the same thing, explain that to you. Get everything ready, okay? That's what I'm going to do now. Another tip, yes, I'm giving you plenty of tips, so keep note. Okay, as we're doing all this, you'll see that this hangs down. So if you're not being aware of it, as you're playing back and forth, lifting up and down, just be careful with this. You don't want it to start dragging, and all of a sudden you're going to have some marks in your wall, some different things. The whole idea here is to do everything nice and clean the best way possible, so when you get done, our goal is that it doesn't even look like we did anything here, that these switches were always here, just like this. Okay, this is what you should look at so far. Make sure the fan to fan goes to the fan, to hot goes to the hot. Okay, so it's just like this. What I'm going to do now is I'm making sure those are plenty tight. Don't try to over tighten them, because that's not good either. But you want to make it snug. And what I'm going to do with these is I'm going to go ahead and put electrical tape on there too, for safe precautions. Okay, this is what your project should look like so far. Okay, I've tightened that all up, same direction as tightening these wire nuts like I explained before. Okay, now I'm going to look at this and see how it's going to go in. This is the top. Now I'm going to push all these wires back in there and get ready for this here. Okay, I got the wires pushed back in there, lining that up. Good, it's going to fit. Take the screws that came with this, and I'm going to screw this in now. Okay, this is where the existing light switches are. What we're going to be doing is installing a fan switch next to one of these switches. So we're going to have 3 switches in a row. We're going to end up taking this out of the wall. So I just wanted to show you, we've got 2 switches here now. We're going to add a 3rd one, and you'll see how I do that right now.